Here's the truth of the story. No, well, it's got some funny parts in it too. But my daughter lives out near me, and she has a farm. And when we got the farm, there was this oak tree. It's a red oak by her house, pretty close, but it's huge, probably 60 inches. As far as straight from one side of it to the next. It's just a massive oak tree. But I could see that bugs, carpenter ants, termites had eaten a lot of the trunk, and it was splitting. And I told her, I said, you're going to have to take that tree down. And she goes, I'm not taking that tree. It's gorgeous. I said, it's dying. Well, the other night, my daughter has to go to a funeral up in Alaska, and the tree falls. It splits in half. And luckily it missed the house, the part that fell. It missed the house. It missed the sheds that were there and stuff. But I go and her wife is out there, and I come with chainsaw and stuff to say, all right, let's try to clean this thing up and get it at least to the point where we can break it down. So we start doing that, and she has friends there, and we're cutting all the branches and limbs off and everything. And it's got the tree itself, it's still hooked on the base. It's going over a fence, and it's got these 3 prongs, giant. And when I say prongs, those limbs on the tree are probably, about 15 to 18 inches in circumference. They're huge. And so it's almost like it's an altar sitting there, right? And so I said, look, I'm going to have to get up on top of it to, start cutting these things. Well, then one of the chainsaws, someone bends the chain on it, and so now we're down to one chainsaw, and I've cut most of it away. With the one thing I'm like, I got this, the part that was the big, the actual tallest part of the tree is now sticking out, horizontally, but it's not touching the ground. And I'm like, look, if I can get rid of that sucker with one fell swoop, because nothing's touched the ground, so it should, when I cut it, if I cut a V, I'll cut it here, and it'll just fall. And that was a mistake. Because I go up on a ladder, and my feet are about 8 feet off the ground. The limb, which is, bigger than your body, is it's
which
probably
isn't
about
saying much though, buddy.
No, about 14 feet off of the ground. And I start cutting it, and then I cut it in a thing, and it starts to break. And I look at it, and the front end is not near the ground or anything. So I'm like, oh, it'll be all right. And then I start to cut it more, and it fully breaks. And when it breaks, this is what happens. I'm standing on that ladder, and the front end dives into the ground, and it shoots it back, and it just obliterates the ladder that I'm on. It just, the giant part of the tree just shoots into the ladder. And so immediately, my head is probably about 12 feet off the ground. Immediately, my feet and my head are at the same level because it has turned me horizontal. And I got a chainsaw in my hand, and I don't know where Gabby's at, my daughter-in-law, and so I'm like, oh shit, and I go and boom, and I hit the ground. First thing I thought when I hit the ground, truthfully, was, motherfucker, that hurt. And then I realized quickly I can't breathe. And so I'm like, all right, it'll come back, just relax, right? And then I realized, let me get to my hands and knees. So I roll over and get to my hands and knees, and then blood is pooling out of my head. I said, oh, God damn it. That's what I'm thinking, but I'm like, just get the breath. And so I'm doing the trying to get, and it goes on for about, and it's going on for, well, Gabby, she leaves me, goes running in the house where my wife's at, and gets my wife. My wife comes out, and they're trying to talk to me, and I'm like, I can't fucking talk. So now it's about a minute when I start getting little sips of air, right? And it's like, all right, I'm gonna live, I think. And so I'm sucking in air, and my wife is saying, what's wrong? She thinks I have head trauma from the chainsaw and stuff like that because the blood and everything. And I go, ribs. That's all I said, ribs. Because when I first took in the only breath of air that, finally seemed normal, I realized, I could feel the click, click, click. And I was like, shit, I broke my ribs bad. And so I get myself up. I walk over to her garage, and when I walk, I realize, oh, my hip's fucked up too. And then as I'm standing, leaning on her side by side that she uses for her farm work, I realize, wow, I'm really having a hard time breathing here. I might have collapsed a lung. And so I'm like, this is not good right now. And my wife's going, come on, we got to go to the hospital. No, I'm going to be fine.
I'm going to be fine.
So eventually says, no, we're going. Well, the hospital's like 40 minutes away, right? So we get in my truck. She starts driving. And so that's when I took out my phone, right? And then she's already cleaned me up, cleaned me up with the towels and stuff. So the bleeding's all stopped. The cut on top of my head is all, it's not bleeding and stuff. So, she goes, what are you doing? I said, well, you always say that I don't do enough Instagram stuff. So here, so that's when I said, oh, I fought a tree and I lost. And I go through that whole thing, right? Well, she goes, I am not putting that on Instagram until I find out that you're going to be okay. I said, whatever you want, it's yours. You can have it, right? So then we go to the hospital, which is 40 minutes away. It's not a trauma 1 level, I guess is what they call it. So they put me in a CAT scan and come back. And the first thing I'm told is, all right, you've got a contusion on your lung. Your kidney is also contused, and you have 3 broken ribs. And we have to send you to UT, University of Tennessee. And I'm like, I don't want to go to University of Tennessee. No, you've got to go. So they get an ambulance, and so they put me in the ambulance. So now it's another 40-minute ride. So I got a 40-minute ride, and every bump on the road when you're in this, position with your ribs sucks. And so it's like every time you hit, right? And it's like, okay. So I get to UT. They put me in the thing there. This female doctor comes in, and she tells me, oh, you have 5 broken ribs. I go, I have 5 broken ribs. She goes, oh, yeah, you got 5 broken ribs. And so I said, okay, well then about 10 minutes later, my main doctor comes in. Well, this is a teaching school. And so this is what he says. This is the best. I love what he says, man, is he's got 5, I guess, what do they call them? They're students. I don't know, but, residents or whatever, people that are becoming doctors. Yeah. And so, he comes in, and this guy is all teacher. He doesn't even look at me. It's like, and goes, all right, people. All right, what do we have here? Ribs 5 through 10. I want you to count. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's not 5 ribs. That's 6 ribs. He goes, we have 6 broken ribs here. He goes, 58-year-old. He goes, has asthma. He goes, high mortality rate.
Oh, lovely.
All right. So I kind of look at him, right? My wife she's got that daggers are flying out of her eyes right now. Right? And he looks at me at that point, right then. And he's like, gets this puzzled look, right? And then he goes to his little chart and he looks and he goes, oh my God, let's get it on. Right? And he goes,
what a jerk. Oh, geez.
And I just looked at him. I said, my first response was to him, oh, does that mean my mortality rates just changed? Right?
So man, it's got to be painful to laugh right now.
Dude, it's killing me. So I end up with 6 broken ribs, a bruised kidney that is not functioning correctly, and a hole in my lung. So I feel really good.
100% agree. Okay.